We are back for another State of the Franchise. Jason Aponte, I'm Brad Graham. We're here to talk all things San Francisco 49ers. And of course, that means owners meetings, some free agency recap, maybe a little peek into the draft, all that good stuff. It is peak off-season time. So you already know we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's get it right now. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. Jason Aponte, it is almost summertime over there on the East Coast. What are the vibes like before we get into our 49ers topics today?
Immaculate. And why we should just let people get in here, because I think what we were just talking about right before that we got on is worth doubling back on, because you are a J. Cole stan.
Oh, to the fullest. Since the first mixtape dropped, the day the first mixtape dropped.
I am a Kendrick Lamar stan. And my guy decided to come outside and let everybody know, hey, I'm over here. I'm still here. Like this guy, I'm here.
Yep.
Like Steph, I'm here. I'm back.
Yep.
And now we have full-on contact sport again in a competition sport. Hip hop is a competitive, contact sport. It's been too buddy. Need a little something to get everything going. And I expect J. Cole to be the one who answers. I expect Drake to run to Instagram. And I expect him to say whatever he's saying at his concerts. But I find it funny that we're on opposite sides of this one, because I will stand on business 10 toes. Kendrick Lamar is the best, and he's been putting out the best stuff whenever he does come out, and Brad disagrees.
No, I love it, because I stand 10 toes down with J. Cole. And it's funny because, back in the day, Jason, aging ourselves a little bit, you used to have to get your music on hotnewhiphop.com, DatPiff, even LimeWire back in the day, like when music dropped, not everyone had accessibility to it, right? Like you had to literally go and seek out new music. Like there was a time when, you remember, what was that Usher bop, like yeah, or like whatever?
Mm-hmm.
That song was out for like 9 months before it got popular. That doesn't happen today, right? You drop something, it's instant, it's viral. It didn't happen back in the day. So the point is, both Kendrick and J. Cole, I listened to them right away. The second their mixtape, and that was back in the mixtape era, right? Mm-hmm. When everyone's dropping mixtapes. And I listened to both of them. And I don't say that Kendrick isn't good or talented, just not my vibe. Even from the beginning, like I could identify that he was good, but I didn't like his delivery, kind of nasaliness to it. And J. Cole just fit my vibe a little bit better. So I've been rocking with J. Cole for a minute. I will say Kendrick probably has more popular songs than J. Cole.
Maybe.
It feels like he's been pumping for long. Like J. Cole goes like in and out of like dropping something. I don't know. But J. Cole's my guy. No disrespect to Kendrick.
Yeah.
But to me, J. Cole's the man.
The way I'll say it is Kendrick, when he puts his bodies to work together, it's not for the mainstream, it's for the art. And
I think they're both like that, right?
So
I think they're both like that.
The best way that I could put it is this: almost like the way that you described how you identified that Kendrick's good, but it's not your vibe. That's how I felt about Cole. And the best way I could put it is this: Cole's probably the best rapper. Kendrick makes the best albums, and Drake makes the best songs.
Ooh, I think that's fair.
Yeah, like bodies of work. Kendrick Lamar has made some of the most important bodies of work in hip hop. To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City, even Damn, right? Like that run of those three albums, whether you declare them classics or not, they're as close as it gets. consistently J. Cole has been out smoking every single feature. Almost any time that you hear him rapping, he's better. And Drake consistently gives us things. I think the best way to look at this, and we should let's start talking football before everybody just tunes out.
Everyone's like, what the fuck?
Everybody's just like, what's going on here? I think the best way to put it is this: we don't have to pick and choose. We're lucky enough to have 3 guys that give us so many different things. What do they say? One's for the mind, one's for the heart, one's for the soul. I think all 3 of them are fit one of those. So yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. I just wanted to start just so we can let people get in because I think this is kind of a surprise drop on State of the Franchise. But yeah, let's get to some 49ers football because they're gonna kill us.
Absolutely. Hey, and I've been listening to Drake for a long time too. I know he's definitely the pop guy out of the bunch, but man, he dropped some banger.
Hey man,
he's been consistent.
Look,
you can't hate the game. You can't hate the player, man. He's been balling for a while.
I frequent a bar that they play their music off of Spotify, and they just started playing one Drake song, and they played a bunch of Drake songs, and it's like 6 or 7 or 8 in a row that I'm like, oh man, I really like this song. It's not hard for you to identify that all 3 of them are great for different reasons. All 3 of them are there. It's like if there's a Mount Rushmore of the newer guys, they're there. The answer is like, who's the 4th? And I have a hot take. I think it's Future. But that's again. This is for another day. This is completely for another day. Thank you, Ariel. But yeah, we're done. Let's talk 49ers.
All right. No, who's the Drake of the NFL? No. So obviously, I guess let's start with the most recent, and then we'll kind of bounce around.
Yeah.
I'll start it like this. Any takeaways from Kyle, John, or Jed that like stood out to you? Anything that was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's an interesting little nugget. Anything that stood out to you?
Just very little stuff. I mean, honestly, Jed saying that he didn't think that last season was unsuccessful isn't going to jive very well with 49ers fans, or saying that like that whole season wasn't a success after he said we don't raise NFC Championship banners, right? Like that kind of goes in that way, like a little bit just against it.
Yeah.
I think, Kyle being very confident that Hufanga is going to be back week 1. I think that's something that's been a point of contention recently about, is there going to be someone who's, or like he said that he's on track, at least something like that. Obviously, what they're going to say about Brandon Ayuk is cookie cutter, but all 3 of these guys are masters of not saying anything at all, ever. Like not saying anything at all. And I think that's great. But I think that's what makes it so funny when people are just like, oh, you gotta ask harder questions. You think that you're gonna ask them a question that they're gonna be like, oh, I wasn't prepared, and they're gonna start like, oh, I don't know, and they're gonna say something dumb. Nah, like all these guys, they know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of coach speak. I didn't really take anything crazy away from it. I mean, it's good to hear that Hufanga will be back, but it still lends to the idea of, well, you have Blackman in for a safety visit. The Justin Simmons stuff is still there. Are you going to address safety in a draft, right? And is this because you're worried about his recovery or his money? I think it lends a little bit to that, but honestly, not really too much, Brad. I felt it was pretty run-of-the-mill and boring.
It's amazing what happens when there's no quarterback controversy, right? I think that's one of the takeaways is that all 3 of them continued without even saying it. They're all basically stamping Brock's our guy. They've even alluded to, Jed, even the fact that Jed's even openly talking about Brock Purdy's contract extension a year ahead, again, just reiterates the point that these guys freaking love Brock. Like Brock's the guy, he's quarterback 1, and they are open and willing to pay the market rate for a quarterback, which is going to be $45 million per year on average at the floor.
Right.
What Kirk Cousins got is the floor for the next group that's going to get paid. So we could be talking about Brock Purdy getting $50 million a year, which is crazy because remember when they paid Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah.
They paid him $27 million a year, and everyone's freaking out because
highest paid player in NFL history at the time. Remember that.
Remember that. 5 games.
Let's do the 5 games. Let's do the history. Let's do the history, right? So every contract that comes out is always highest paid. The next guy is the highest paid. The next guy is the highest paid. So you always have to keep that in context.
It's market rate. It's
Right.
market rate. That's it.
It's the cost of doing business in the NFL when you have a guy who has put up a year like that and is a quarterback.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. First of all, Kyle Shanahan had a one-on-one interview with somebody, and I'm
Steve
blanking.
White.
Steve Weiss. And this man is glowing ear to ear when he talks about Brock Purdy. Because you know why? He's like, oh wow, I got my guy finally. Like, we're done with this. Like, we're done, right? We're done. I think
he even got to experiment with, Sam Darnold and brought him in. He's like, oh,
didn't work.
Brock's the guy.
Hey,
Brock's the guy.
And now, for all intents and purposes, as of March 27th, Sam Darnold's the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
Easy.
I need jobs that, that I perform poorly at to continue to believe in me like him. But all right, number 2, Jed York talking openly about it's a good problem to have if you have a quarterback that deserves that amount of money because he's at the top of the league. And then 3, the Dallas Cowboys are really funny. I don't know, Dak Prescott. I think you got to play out the rest of this year. Dak Prescott might hit the open market next year and still be in that same range. And I know listen to me. I am not conflating the two. I am not putting them in the same bracket. I understand, right? Like, today, I believe that Brock Purdy is a better quarterback, a better overall manager of the game, everything, pocket presence, everything, than Dak Prescott. But the cost of doing business in the NFL is going to be 45, 50 M's per year. Whether
baseline.
Whether that's Dak, whether that's Purdy. And whether the Cowboys want to give it to him or not, someone will. Yeah. So I think all of this is interesting because Purdy next year is going into a contract situation where Dak is going to be on the open market, right? The open market. Like, it's not like he's under contract like he is this year and they're working on an extension.
Right.
He is a free agent next year if they don't get something done. And how that changes the discourse of what he gets and what Brock can get, because Brock is still technically under contract. Brock can want what he wants, but you're still under contract. Dak is going to get whatever he wants because someone needs to sign him, and someone will jump at the chance, regardless of.
There could be a bidding war that
100%, 100%. So I think it's kind of funny that Dak and Purdy find themselves going into the situation next season. And again, all this depends on what happens this year. There's still a year of football to play. I mean, there's still a line of thinking that I'm kind of lining up that Brock Purdy might improve. He might improve. Like, there's still a world that Brock Purdy can improve. I don't think there's a ceiling, and I don't think you can call it his ceiling when they are at the bottom of the league in pass attempts. Right. What if you go up? What if you go up 5 spots? Who knows, right? Like, who knows what type of numbers he'd put up? What if Brock Purdy has to play many fourth quarters? Who knows, right? Like, who knows? All these things are possible. They're in the range of possibilities. But Dak and Purdy are on this collision course for, I want to see what he's going to get first. I want to see what he's going to get first, because if he gets something, I want that and a little bit more because I'm better. And both of them probably feel the same way.
Who do you think gets paid more? Let's say, for just throwing it out there, Brock Purdy puts up the same caliber season that he just did. Yep. Maybe you could even say, like you alluded to, a little bit better, considering the examples that you listed. And let's say both Brock and Dak were free agents at the same time, could sign anywhere. Who gets paid more? And you have a typical Dak Prescott season where he's putting up stats, numbers, first round exit in the playoffs. Brock Purdy goes to the NFC Championship, maybe Super Bowl. Who knows? But they both hit the open market at the same time. Brock has a better year. Who gets paid more?
Dak does. You know why? Ooh. But you know why? It's not because I believe that Brock is better. It's because it's Shanahan. He's the last pick. It's all those weapons. That's why it's less about what I think of the two quarterbacks, because I do think Brock Purdy's better than Dak Prescott, and give me him in any big game, going forward, especially since he's beaten Dak in those same games. But it would be Dak. I think a lot of teams would view it as, well, Dak didn't have all this and all that, and it's a stupid way of thinking. Again, me saying that Dak would get paid more doesn't mean that I believe that Dak is better. Please, guys, listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the way that these teams have been evaluating Brock Purdy, and the way people talk about Brock Purdy as being the last pick, and it's all Kyle Shanahan, and any quarterback can succeed, and give me Christian McCaffrey and Debo and all these guys, and I could do this and I could do that. I think a lot of franchises are going to look and say, I think Dak can do more with less than Brock Purdy can. And that's kind of where I'm talking about it. That's it. I don't believe. Let me just say this one more time. I'm looking at the camera. Ready?
Yeah. Make sure you
Brock
don't get clipped.
Brock Purdy is better than Dak Prescott. Write it down, bookmark it, whatever. He's better. But what I'm talking about is the way that teams view Brock Purdy's success and how they use the qualifying factors. In terms of, hey, it's Shanahan. Oh, it's McCaffrey, and it's this guy, and it's this guy, and it's this guy. I think what they look at it is, when they look at the two, is Dak can do more with less than Brock Purdy. But in my opinion, that's a flawed way of looking at it because of the way that Brock Purdy performed, especially when things got tight and things got rough.
I definitely hear you, and that makes a lot of sense. I do believe there is also a world that does exist that if Brock continued to win and continued to, regardless of Kyle Shanahan and the weapons and the defense and all of those types of things, and he puts up another MVP caliber season and back-to-back seasons as a full-time starter, I think the league would convince themselves finally that, all right, you know, all the things that Spags came out and said unsolicitedly about Brock after, I feel like that would be the narrative internally. It might not be externally when you're talking about media, you know, your draft heads, your fantasy football nerds, like all the guys who are scouting and like physical measurables. That's why I think, you know, like you're kind of saying why Brock or Dak could be the higher paid, right? Because he's a physical specimen. He runs well. He throws the ball downfield. He does show accuracy deep. It's just he makes the fatal flaw a lot of the times. So, but I think in those scenarios, again, it's completely hypothetical. And just to play the other side of it, I think there would be a world that exists where, you know, we hear that cliche all the time, right? Oh, just wait till they get tape on him. Just wait till the defenses figure out his tendencies. Well, if the defenses can't figure it out, the second year in, 2.5 years in, and they're realizing like, yeah, Kyle has a good scheme, but he's just cooking us. He's just ripping apart our zone defenses. He knows what we're in before pre-snap, and he knows where he's going post-snap. Like, what do we do? And yeah, that will never be flashy because I think we've talked about this point on the show before. It's like Brock gets dinged for being on time.
Yeah.
Brock gets dinged for understanding what he sees and playing to that because it's not flashy. It's not making a guy miss in the pocket, dipping out, throwing. What was that throw? Actually, I don't want to reference that throw, but like Bills quarterback Josh Allen. If he scrambles out to the left, flips his hips, throws opposite side,
and he throws it like 40 yards. He throws it 40 yards down the
right
field.
in the bucket. You're like,
Right.
whoa!
Right.
And then he goes on a 50-yard sprint down the middle of the field, trucks two people. You're like, oh yeah!
Right.
But like, I think there's different ways to play the quarterback position, and if Brock can duplicate what he did last year, build a little bit on it, I don't think anyone can say anything anymore. I'll ask you this. Let me kind of transition into this. Mm-hmm. Do you think we'll still get that doubt that Brock is middle tier, lesser quarterback kind of talk this season?
I think so. I think you're going to get it for the rest of the time that he's here. I think you are because of the Kyle Shanahan thing. And this is what I was and I'm glad you lobbed that up because I want to throw this out to you. For all the talk about, and I can't believe that this was something that was even like discussed about Kyle Shanahan cannibalizing his quarterbacks. Well, let's do some knowledge real quick. Let's do the history. If by cannibalizing you mean giving Matt Ryan his MVP season with him as the offensive coordinator and then him never reaching that height again as long as Kyle Shanahan wasn't there, then yeah, he cannibalized him. If by cannibalizing you mean Nick Mullins throwing for more yards than Patrick Mahomes and Andrew Luck in his first few games,
not the Nick Mullins
stat. Let's go. Hold up. Let me cook. Now, if you mean Nick, if you mean Jimmy Garoppolo got cannibalized by Kyle Shanahan, then got a bag and is out here as a backup for the Los Angeles Rams, if you mean cannibalized in that way, which has got to be by far, Brad, one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard in my life. All of these guys got a bump in their value.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Garoppolo got signed. He's not there anymore. The Raiders realize he's not him. What does that mean? Wait, Kyle Shanahan actually puts his quarterbacks in good positions to win? Wait, Nick Mullins can't get a starting job anywhere? Oh, wait, Matt Ryan never reached the heights of his MVP season under Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator? Kind of funny to me. So there is a bump. Now, having said all that, I don't think that translates to Brock Purdy. I don't. I do not. I think all of the things that you can say about Kyle bumping up his quarterbacks are true. They're true. You get guys wide open. You have all your guys. I get it. But he elevates the offense and executes it in a way that is 100% different than all those guys that I mentioned. All of them. Even Matt Ryan, who won the MVP. They put up similar efficiency stats. They had Julio Jones. They were cooking. They had two good running backs, Tevin Coleman, Devonta Freeman, right? Like, these guys have ballers. But Brock isn't like that. And the only one that's close to him is Matt Ryan in this scenario for me, because Matty Ryan was still a baller like after. He just never reached those heights again.
Right.
But there is going to be like that. Remember we were just talking about hip hop, right? You get Drake on your song goes up to like number one, kind of like a quarterback with Kyle Shanahan. You're gonna go up a little bit. You're gonna get bumped. You're gonna get bumped. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I know you guys. I hope I'm articulating it in a way that you guys understand, where I'm not trying to say anything wrong. I'm just trying to give you the perception around the quarterbacks that have been under Kyle Shanahan, because I hear a lot of nonsense about quarterbacks being cannibalized by Kyle and Kyle's killing quarterbacks. Kyle is literally lifting these other guys, lifting them. Matt Ryan never had another season like he did that MVP season. Nick Mullins is a career backup. Jimmy Garoppolo might be a career backup. But I think we're a little bit different with what we're seeing in Brock Purdy, because he does do some of the elevating and he does take some of the strain off of Kyle. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and to kind of expand on that even more, it's like Brock allows Kyle to do more things, right? Like, I really feel like because of the trust factor, I think that is really important element in their relationship is not only just execution, but trust and execution, belief that the execution is going to happen based on how Kyle sees it. Like, we call Kyle, the wizard for years because we've seen those clips like, oh, this is where the balls should be. If you get this look, you're going to be open for an 80-yard touchdown. Like, right? If you have an extension of that on the field who sees it in real time, being able to draw it up on a whiteboard is fundamentally and insanely different than actually standing within a pocket with walls of 380-pound dudes running at you, trying to tackle you and rip your arms off, and you having to read a defense and throw with precision, accuracy, on time, and understanding that your wide receiver sees the same exact thing that you're seeing. So I think the nuance that is lost in the conversation between the Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy thing is, it's like you can take this analogy to whatever workplace environment that you are in. Everything has a system. Everything has a way of running so employees can fit in, and then you try to maximize the efficiencies with those employees, and then you get a good, great employee every once in a while who enters that system and makes small changes, small tweaks, amplifies it, and you get better and better and better. And guess what? They start elevating and going up the ladder in the workplace, right?
Brad.
And so, yes.
Yeah, no, keep going. I'll wait till you're done.
And so just the same thing applies with this. Yes, Kyle has a system that is one of the best in the league. That's why everyone's copying it. That's why everyone's poaching his coaches. Look at Slowick. Look at all these guys that are having success. You have the guy at the Saints offensive coordinator, Kubiak, all those different types of things. It's because the system is good, but it takes a high-level manager to be able to implement, teach, and fit those employees into it. But then it takes the right employees. It takes the right hires to fit that and elevate it. You can plug and play random hires to get the job done. And I think that's kind of like what you're talking about.
100%.
These guys can come in and get the job done and actually look a little bit better because the system helps them. It fits what they need to do, and it helps amplify what they need to do. But when you get a good one in to that system, it changes and it evolves and it develops. And I think that's where Purdy's at. And that's the relationship between Brock and Kyle.
And if you don't believe us, believe Kyle. And what I mean by that is when Jimmy Garoppolo would throw an interception in a playoff game, Kyle would shut that shit down. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse like that. I'm sorry. He would shut it down. Shut it down.
Offseason, man. We're chilling.
Shut it down. No more running. No more throwing. We're going to run the ball. No more throwing. Brock Purdy at the end of the half is allowed to throw the ball and get down the field. Early in the game is allowed to throw the ball. If Brock Purdy throws an interception, Kyle keeps punching. If you don't believe me, believe Kyle. That's why you know he trusts him. That's why you know that he believes different. That's why you know that he's happy with the quarterback that he has. If Jimmy throws a pick and Eric Kendrick picks it, oh baby, 45 straight runs, and we're gonna rely on the defense. 45 straight runs. Get ready for it. We're gonna tell you we're gonna run it every single time because we're done. We're not even gonna mess around with this. Purdy throws a pick. Kyle comes over. Is like, listen, this is what you're gonna see. Boom, boom, boom. We're still gonna keep firing. It's completely different. It's completely different. So that's why I look. Again, when we look at the Kyle Shanahan bump, everybody gets it. But there's only one quarterback that has been able to give Kyle a bump, and that's Brock Purdy. That's it.
And that's why he's going to get paid next year. So get ready. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a good one. All right. Do you care about the rule changes? Anything?
A little bit.
New kickoff. Oh, I thought the one rule change, we were kind of talking about this offline a little bit earlier in a roundabout way. I think they changed the IR rule before the season. So you can put 2 players on injured reserve before you cut the final roster, and you can bring those guys back. That's not the case, i.e. Cameron Latu. They put him on IR before the season, red shirt, done. There's no way he could come back. If that were to happen this year, they would be able to come back or just write it out on IR. I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a good one, but I don't think they ever wanted Cameron Latu to come back. Hi-oh, like it didn't matter if the rule was there. Sorry, guys, I couldn't resist.
You were holding that one in the whole time.
I couldn't resist. All of a sudden, the guy with drop issues has like a season-ending injury. Give me a break, man. That is like total like IR. Like we got to get rid of it. I think that is a little bit interesting because the 49ers have had to kind of go a little bit like around those rules and take guys off IR, bring them on, right? Like, so this gives them a little bit more flexibility. Right, exactly.
With Greenlaw,
right.
That's huge.
Right.
That's
no,
huge.
Greenlaw.
I didn't even think about that.
Greenlaw absolutely has a chance to come back. 100% different. 100% different.
Yeah, you can start him out on IR.
Right.
That way now you can put roster allocation.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the Greenlaw aspect of it. So yeah, I think that's a great a minor. But when it comes to roster construction, I'm all for as many players as possible. That's why I love how they changed the practice squad during the COVID year, allowing more veterans, allowing more numbers of players, allowing guys to be called up. So anytime that you can add more guys, I would say on the roster, that's better for football in general.
Yeah. And, I'm not reading that comment, but like, yeah,
I just seen it. I just seen it. I know exactly. I just seen it.
So I have a little bit of a tangent to go off of with these rule changes because the kickoff rule is supposed to be for player safety, right? Mm-hmm. And that sounds all well and good. And I do have a way that the 49ers can exploit this. I think there's a big way that they can exploit it. And I think a lot of other teams are going to follow suit in this way. But NFL, you don't care about player safety. Let me tell you why. If you did, you would rip out all the turf from all the other places where guys are tearing their ACL and they're tearing their Achilles. If you did, you wouldn't be saying that a team is going to have to play on Christmas on Wednesday and then on Saturday. If you cared about player safety, if you really cared, you don't care. Don't lie. All that's for show, right? All that's for show.
Care about scaring points. That's
right.
what they care about.
So when you're in a relationship, right, and your significant other comes to you and says, I need you to help a little bit more throwing out the garbage, maybe doing the dishes. And you throw out the garbage and you do the dishes 1 or 2 times, and you're good for like 2 weeks. So you can kind of just show like, you can kind of just show like, yeah, look, I listened to you, honey. I believe, and I think you're right. And then you go right back on everything that you did like the next month, and you end up having the same discussion. NFL, you're not fooling me. You are not fooling me. You're going to play a team on Saturday. You're going to play an NFL team on Saturday. And then you're going to tell them to come back Christmas Day and tell them to play. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the kickoff rule is pretty cool. And I think here's how the 49ers exploit it. You put Deebo Samuel, put Christian McCaffrey back there, and it turns into a play where there's blocking and following blockers now on these kickoffs. That is what everyone else in the NFL is going to use this for, and they are going to actually do it. Like, I don't understand. Like, now, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, hello Tyreek Hill and hello Devon Achane, get back there, and now you're catching things, and now it turns into a play. It makes kickoff returners a lot more important, and I think that's great because it's still one of the most exciting plays in the NFL, and little by little, it's just been taken away by a ceremonial touchback. So I do want to applaud the NFL for a little bit, like, to making that a little bit more important. But if I'm the 49ers, if I'm the Dolphins, if I'm any team, my best player, yards after the catch with the ball in his hands, is going to absolutely be back there 1 or 2 times. Doesn't have to be every time. Doesn't have to be every single time. But if I need a big play, and we need a spark, need a big spark, you run your best kickoff play where you get like a wedge going, you get 2 or 3 guys on the blockers, and then you let your guys cook. If it doesn't turn into a touchdown, it turns into a big play. The 49ers have been sorely lacking. The 49ers have not had a punt return since 2012. 2012, and that was Ted Ginn against the Seattle Seahawks. That was the last time someone has run a punt back for a touchdown.
Was the last kickoff return Richie James, Tampa Bay?
Correct. So now you can find a way to actually do it. I don't think it's worth you putting McCaffrey and Deebo out there every single time. Oh God, we're screwed, KJ. But I think it's a way that if you need a big play, you need a spark, you need a 40-yard return, you need a big play, like you're kind of lagging, like you're in comeback mode. You want to get the team rolling a little bit. You start to see Deebo get excited. That's where you're going to find that, and I think that's where teams are going to try to exploit that.
I think you're on point 100%. I think like what you're kind of alluding to is basically strategy, right? Is added a little bit. I just muted you a little bit because I could hear the feedback, FYI. I think that there adds strategy to the play. You now have a kickoff that has been pretty stagnant. I think the word that's been used, I think you used it, ceremonial. It's just kind of like, all right, it is what it is, but it really doesn't provide much value to the game at all. I think this does add an element of strategy. And it will be interesting to see how they scheme certain things up. I think the rule that stands out to me the most would be the hip drop tackle elimination. Like, how are you going to enforce that?
All right.
And again, cloaked in player safety, just like you said, but I think it really just comes down to they don't want their offensive players off the field. They want their offensive players on the field. They don't want there to be injury or anything like that.
Is that me? I don't know.
I just muted you because I can hear myself talking.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I just get to, my ADHD starts going crazy.
So look, I do believe that this is rooted in player safety, right? But if you're talking about the hip drop tackle, what are secondary guys supposed to do if they're bringing down Derrick Henry? What?
You have to stay on your feet, apparently.
Oh, you got to just drag. It's literally going to be that scene in Little Giants where the guy's like hanging from his thing. Oh! Look, I think we all agree that most of the time when competition dips is because of player injuries. I get it. But every single football player gets into this game knowing that this is a physical sport. If you don't want anybody to get hurt, then just make it flag. If you don't want anybody to get hurt, make it 2-touch. It's so hard right now for people, and I love this right here. The players are gonna start going for knees more.
Yeah.
It's it's gonna
Which
lead
is
to
going to create ACL injuries.
it's gonna lead to more injuries. So it's it's hard for me to like sit here and be like, oh, this is cool, that's cool. Oh yeah, sure did. Not bad. Is that better?
There it is.
There it is. Sorry,
There it
but
is.
like this is the crux of the argument about player safety. This is one of those things where I understand what you think, and I think you're thinking about the right way to go about it. But the unfortunate part of this game and why we laud the players that are able to stay healthy and play for so long is because it is a physical game. And that's kind of the deal that you make when you become a football player, especially an NFL football player. So when a secondary guy is hanging on for dear life trying to bring down a running back and you're in a big game and you're trying to stop him from getting a first down, and now either bring him down with a hip drop tackle and it's going to be 15 anyway and get him the first, or just let him get the first. It's like, I feel for defenders. At this point,
Yeah.
it's already become a point where you can't touch wide receivers, you can't touch quarterbacks, you can't do hip drop tackles, you can't drive quarterbacks into the ground, you can't block for too long. At what point does this game, that is a man sport, which is why we love this game so much, which is why we laud these guys as
They
gladiators.
sign up for this.
Right,
It
exactly.
comes with the territory. They
100%.
know
Like,
what they're signing up for. They're
it's
not being
just one of
held
those
to their will.
it's one of those unfortunate things. It's just unfortunate. That's it. It's an unfortunate thing. We hate to see it happen. You hate to see it happen to Mark Andrews. You hate to see it happen to Tony Pollard. You hate to see it, but it's just
Absolutely.
what are you supposed to do as a defender at this point? Like, again, make it flag. Make it two touch. That's it, man. Just make it flag at this point. But we wouldn't love it as much if it wasn't as physical. I think that's the part that we love about this game.
To me, it comes across as them just trying to preserve offensive players. Like, it
Right.
doesn't come more in the sense of like, oh, we deem this tackle or this technique is just injuring people. It's physics. Like, how do you expect, like you said, your example of bringing Derrick Henry down? That is not an easy task. You look at the 49ers with Debo Samuel and George Kittle and their yak ability. One of the things that they do so well is getting defenders off of them, dropping their shoulder, being able to, if you can't throw your body and your momentum into someone, wrap, which they teach head up, and use that momentum to bring someone down, which is football. Like, that to me is more detrimental to the product overall than losing some key offensive players. Yes, losing key offensive players to injury sucks for everyone. Sucks for the team, sucks for the fans, sucks for sponsors, sucks for the NFL,
That's the game.
because ultimately those are the guys who draw viewers in, who
Yeah.
makes the game exciting. So you don't want to lose those guys. You know when they lost Tom Brady for the year, they're like, oh, what are we gonna do? Oh, no tackling quarterbacks below the
Below the
knees.
lead. That's
It's
it.
it's over. It's over. We can't lose Tom Brady. And then obviously we've seen how they've handled that. But to me, it's not, and I think you talked about, it's not player safety. It's more so product based. They want to
Protecting the
keep their guys available. The guys are the product. Those guys are on the field. People aren't as interested, and they drive the sport and they know it.
well,
It's not to the level of the NBA, but it's getting closer to that, especially with the emergence of DFS and fantasy football and all that stuff.
there you go. Brad, what drives the sport right now? Betting, props, football, fantasy football, best ball, all of these things, everything, right? Because what the NFL has done, and it's a little bit hypocritical, is like, okay, guys, you can't bet on any other sport. I understand you can't bet on football, right? Like, you can't bet on any other sport, okay? But the next commercial is DraftKings. Sign up for a $5,
Yeah.
get $150, and Yahoo Fantasy Football,
ESPN bet.
ESPN
Like,
bet. Get in
you're like,
there, and
all right.
it's hilarious to me that there's been a boom in the NFL's ratings. And it's obviously because we have the best sport in the world. We have the best players in the world. We have some of the biggest difference makers in the world. But the casual fan that does not care about whether the 49ers win or lose, they just care whether Christian McCaffrey goes off for 3 touchdowns and is watching NFL
Like
Red
hit
Zone,
their parlay.
has absolutely sent this company up. But then
Yeah.
they turn their nose up at betting. Well, you can't bet. What? The official sponsor of the NFL, DraftKings Sportsbook. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable, dude. So look, I don't know how this turned into me like cooking the NFL, but I see I love the game. I love the game of football. I love the game of football. I love it more. The only thing that I love more than the game of football is my daughter Averly. I despise the organization that is the NFL because they're so hypocritical and they can never get out of their own way, right? One crime for one player is you get 3 games. Another crime for another player is you're done for the year. I love the game of football. The NFL is absolutely an abhorrent organization, and I don't care who hears it at this point. They can't do anything to me. Still love the game of football. Now, they ain't gonna do nothing to me. Still love the game of football and the 49ers. That's it. But like, come on, man. Like,
it's an entertainment business. That's what it is. Like, it's entertainment. Like, yes, it's cloaked in the name of sport, but it's such a it's a money. You know, hey, it's a root. That's a root right there. Money is the root. You know what the rest is. But it's like. It's kind of it is what it is situation, right? It's like, now how does the game change? Now we have to see the evolution. We've seen the evolution with how these quarterbacks have to tackle these defensive players have to tackle quarterbacks. They literally will like run up to guys and like chest bump them. And like, remember that whole big thing with Kenny Pickett fake sliding in college?
They got rid of that.
Like, and you know, they had to give it up because they're like, well, I can't hit a guy who's going to the ground. And he fake slides and like, so it's just like, yes, everything is better from an entertainment standpoint when points are being scored. Defense wins championships. Offensive play sells tickets. That's just how it is. So follow the money. The money is telling you we need more offense. They even talked about it at these meetings. It came out like, oh, there's a down year in scoring. We need more scoring. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll look at some of the rules that they're putting in place and how that will impact the game. So regardless, old man yells at Cloud, what are you doing to the game I love?
Yeah.
But regardless, it'll just be interesting to see. I think the thing is they can always amend these rules. That's one thing to keep in mind. So
it might be a 1-year thing.
Yeah, I would say out of it all, the hip drop thing to me,
I think that's going to come back. That has to come back because again, you're going to have the situation. You're going to have the situation. You're going to have the situation where someone is trying to stop someone from getting a first down, literally, and the game's on the line. And when they do it, it's going to give them 15 yards. But if you don't do it, he's going to get a first down. And it's like, again, it could be one of those things because it's happened like during preseason where they've kind of seen the rules play out a little bit and they were just like, uh-oh, we got to change this now before like week 1.
Yeah, they call it a certain way to try to like
regulate
like
it.
Get it into the psyche of like, this is what it is. And then they kind of pull back a little bit. They did that recently, like either last year or the year before. I forget the exact rule, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
So like, it's just all of this under the guise of player safety, but you want players because your product is going to make a lot of money over the Christmas time. You want them to play a game on Saturday and then pull up on Wednesday and play a game, all under the guise of player safety. I just wish you would stop lying. Like, I really wish the NFL would just be like, honestly, we kind of care about player safety, but we don't really care. I'll be like, damn, that's terrible, but I respect it. Like, at least don't lie. What is it? Like, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Like, like don't gaslight me. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I
feel like I'm being gaslit right now.
It's crazy to say, like, oh, we care about player safety. Meanwhile, you have teams go on a Sunday and then have to turn around on a Thursday, and these guys are all beat. No, like, not only on a Sunday, Like, fly from the West Coast on a Sunday, fly to the East Coast and play a game on Thursday, and just go for it. And like, that's when your product suffers, when guys haven't been able to properly heal. Now, am I going to complain? No, because I love Thursday night football. I love Sunday night football.
Yeah,
I love Monday night football.
something always going on. Right.
But I would prefer that you stop lying to us. Don't lie to us. That's it, man. Just say we are trying to make as much money as, and I'll be like, you know what? I hate it, but I'm definitely gonna watch. Like, I'm definitely gonna watch. Like, I'm still gonna watch. I still will be seated for every single NFL game. I don't care if it's the Washington football team against the Chicago Bears. I will be seated on Thursday, and I will complain about it on Twitter, just like everybody else will. And I'm gonna put in a bet on that game as well too. I'm gonna
DFS is gonna be cooking. We're gonna be chilling,
do
like
all those things. But don't
checking
lie.
Dynasty. All
stop
that good
lying.
stuff.
Like, stop capping. That's it. Stop lying to us, man. Play
Stop
safe.
cap immediately.
You know
please.
you don't care.
Right. Right. Don't pull that fast one over on us. We know exactly what's going on here. But anyways, regardless of all that, let's shift a little bit of gears to maybe some draft talk.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious to know what you think, because I do think there is a pretty interesting thought process when it comes to position of need, I think, for the 49ers versus positions of want. I'm just curious, if you had to say right now from and this might not even go against with what you believe, what do the 49ers believe? What do the 49ers believe are the positions they really need to get in the draft early, opposed to maybe what we would want? Does that make sense? Am I framing the question properly?
You got it. It's a great question. So I asked John Lynch that same question about best player available and position of need.
Oh, that's right.
And then, but he said, we just draft good players and we don't care where we get them. I truly believe that that's what they believe. But I do think that if I was, and I found out today that no matter what it is that I think, nobody cares what I think, and everything in the 49ers is just going to happen on their, they're going to do whatever they want, right? Like, it doesn't matter what I think. We should never discuss any sort of outcomes or anything like that.
No hypotheticals, right? No mock drafts.
What I learned today was discussing a hypothetical is like punishable by death. All right, but I think oh my God. I think the 49ers are fully intent on playing the board. And
fair.
And they have enough ammo to move up in the first round. They have enough ammo to sit at 31 if they feel like there's a guy there. So I'm giving you a cop-out answer because everybody wants me to say they're going to take an O lineman.
That's what
everybody wants me to say that.
I'm fishing to see what you're going to say.
Yeah. I know. I learned from John and Kyle. You're not getting me no more.
See, that's called media trade. He knows I'm fishing, and he's working his way around the system. This is how it works, people.
And I got it, and I'll get there. Exactly. But I do think that with the way that the 49ers offseason has gone, and we've talked about this, they put themselves in a position that the possibilities are endless. And I think that is the part that you should be excited about as a 49er fan. Now, whether that plan or whatever it is they do comes to fruition, that's something completely different. But the goal is always going to be ultimate flexibility going into the draft. Always. Don't put me in a box and what I need to get or what you think I'm going to get. I can do whatever I want. I might be able to trade back and get a bunch of picks and find guys, later on that we and I mean trade back into the second and have 2 or 3 seconds, right? Like that type of thing. So they are right now with their Devondre Campbell signing and Leonard Floyd and Gross Matos and and Malik Collins, right? Who, oh my God, I found out today people believe is better than Eric Armstead, but I don't want to keep getting yet. Brad, come on,
dude. I saw the narratives being spun the second
I saw
we
4 people. I saw 4. I don't be on Twitter like that anymore because I can't take it. I saw 4 people say that Malik Collins is an upgrade over Eric Armstead, and I'm just like, what?
And I know where it's coming from, and I'm just like, but really, Really?
In what way? In what way? In what way? Like I need to in what way? I need to know
in
what way.
what way is this really an upgrade?
I watched 4 Malik Collins games. He's a high effort guy. He's gonna finish some sacks. He gets stood up against the run. He gets stood up against the pass. When he,
I wouldn't consider this even a lateral move.
No.
This is a downgrade.
It's a downgrade.
A full blown downgrade. That's why I'm like, guys, defensive tackle's a need. They're like, no. I'm like,
the only reason that the only reason that you could say that it could be an upgrade, which I would disagree with, is price point. That's it. But my goodness, man,
value, but that's a front office conversation. That's not an on the field conversation.
All right, so the tease real quick. I jumped on a conference call with Mike Tannenbaum today, from ESPN, former Jets front office guy. Yep. He mocked Braden Fisk at 31 for the 49ers, defensive tackle.
Yep.
So when I asked him, what's the thought process? And you'll see it. It's going to come out in an article tomorrow about everything that he said. I even asked him about Brandon Ayuk. I'm not going to give it all away. But he said, I spent time with Chris Kocurek in Miami, and he's exactly what Chris Kocurek is looking for on the defensive 100%. Line. He's like, plays with his hair on fire, absolute like madman that he can, and he said, I know for a fact, he goes, regardless of like whether they take him or not, I know for a fact that Chris Kocurek is looking at Braden Fisk and like rubbing his hands. He literally said that.
He's like on top of the table, jumping up and down, take Braden Fisk at all. 100%. That's hilarious that he says that, because when you watch Braden Fisk, motor. That's all you see. Is motor. Just, everything he does is motor. All his like moves when he's like trying to everything's like, it's almost exaggerated. Like, but that's like, think of Kocurek. That's it. Right. So like, just the way he was speaking, and he made a really funny comment right before he goes, well, the 49ers haven't signed a defensive lineman in 5 minutes. He was like, so they've got to do something, right? Like, and it's just like, I was like, all right, Mike, you sneaky guy. But what he was talking about was just his opinion in terms of fit. And he's been around Coach K. And Coach K is somebody who will look at a guy like that, who Braden Fisk is an every down guy. That's not your rotational guy. That's your every down guy. Mm-hmm. 3 down defensive lineman, interior.
Right. So that's the way he was framing it and everything. And, check out Niners Nation tomorrow morning. The whole quote will be out there. The video will be on my YouTube later, all that stuff. But I find it interesting that people, because of the offensive line need, believe that has to be the pick when the 49ers can do pretty much whatever they want. And I have a hot take, Brad.
Yes.
No matter what the 49ers do, someone is not going to like it.
Oh, 100%. Because if they take an offensive lineman, it's going to be someone that no one was paying attention to.
Right.
You took him over them? What? Like, that's just how it's going to be. So it's like, I hear you 100%. I've been on the defensive tackle thing since free agency. I'm like, guys, if anything, defensive tackle becomes one of our slotted biggest needs in the draft, not a want. It is not a want to, like, when you take a step back. Now, Malik Collins could be great for the 49ers, and he could play a phenomenal role.
He's a solid rotation guy.
And you can maybe piece it together with YGM rushing from the interior, and you can get creative. But if you really want a guy of the future who you can plug in now and eventually replace Hargrave when his time is done, which we'll see how many more years he has with the Niners. Like, this is your opportunity right now. And they could do that at 31 because this defensive tackle class isn't like crazy top end heavy. Mm-hmm. And because it's quarterback, the elite wide receivers, offensive line, those guys who would probably go around 15, they're probably into the mid 20s now, maybe fall out into the 30s just based on value and team needs. So I've been on the defensive tackle thing for about a week now. People getting mad at me. Jason, they're yelling at me.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't matter. They yelled at me because I said something about like an order I got from Popeyes. I'm just like, man, y'all angry at that too? Like, I got the wrong order. Like,
What happened? You got yelled at for Popeyes?
Look. There's nothing worse than Uber eating something, knowing what you want, knowing what you think you're going to get, and then getting nothing but the opposite. When you order a 4-piece spicy with fries and a Coke, and you get a 4-piece white, all no spicy, and a sweet tea, that is heartbreak. That is heartbreak. That's heartbreak.
Pure letdown.
That is heartbreak. Pure and then everybody's like, well, why would you even order from there? I'm like, not the point, guys. Not the point. Not the point, guys. You're missing the point. The point's not that. There's only a certain amount of things that you can order from at a certain amount of times. It's what's there. But when you expect something, you don't get it. And I think
it's kind of like the draft.
The best way to look at the same thing with the draft. 100%. The same way with the draft. Expect what you want. But prepare to not be happy with what you get. But also prepare yourself to reorder your takes when things start to go different. Don't start falling on a sword because you're like, I hate this pick. Oh no, this is terrible. This is never going to work. I'm talking about football players because I know exactly where the chat's about to go. I'm talking about football players. I'm talking about players who tackle people, who actually catch the ball, who actually run. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Be prepared to not like what you see, but be prepared to change your thought process if things change differently, whether you like it or you don't.
Very well said, because I always try to explain to people there's two ways of scouting. For me, I scout what I think the 49ers are going to do, and then I scout just what I scout. Like, I have my preferences. I have my way that I would go after certain players, their traits that I hold in high regard that maybe the 49ers don't. And you have to be able to separate those two things. Now, sometimes you get the perfect world where they meet in the middle and you see eye to eye, but that's not always the case.
No.
And in fact, it's more like your order from Popeyes. You get a semblance of what you wanted, but then you're like, this isn't it.
But I was in control. It's not hard.
Like, I ordered Rashad White in the third round, and I got TDP. I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't happy about it at all. I said, I want Rashad White, and here comes, the Bucks are like, nah, 2 picks in front of the 49ers, he's ours. And then the Niners like, well, we got TDP. Great. Phenomenal.
Eagles legend.
Trey Sermon, TDP.
So whoever they draft in the third round, pack your bags and get ready to learn Eagles, buddy.
And they're going to draft a running back.
Oh,
I feel it in my bones. And I'm okay. I'm okay with it, though.
Yo, Isaac.
Oh, you like Isaac?
Oh, yes. That is perfect.
Especially
you can get him in the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, 100. He's fast, too.
Oh, God. He's going to fit perfectly, especially in the outside zone, and he's going to see those holes open up. He's going to be gone. Like, that's the guy that I want.
He might be one of those guys that, like, isn't high on media boards, but goes higher than people expect.
Maybe. They're going to see that speed because he showed out the combine. I was like, oh, damn it. He might be for the streets now. Because I hate
3-3-40.
Right, like, I hate the combine because of that, man. It's just like, damn it, man. Why'd you have to run? Couldn't you have just stayed home? Like, if you just stayed home, everything would have been fine. Silly you trying to boost your own draft stock. But, I mean, like...
Hey, he's good size, too. 6 foot, 220 pounds, running a 4.33. Not bad.
Oh, yeah. And he gets a chance to chill for a little bit. If he can spell Christian McCaffrey and still give them that home run threat, it could... Man,
John Lynch was at Michigan Pro Day. Blake Corum, future 49er, come on down.
Really?
He's 5'8", runs a 4.53 40. Honestly, I think he's a great football player. I actually wouldn't mind it, but he's not the running back that I want. I want the Tennessee running back, Jalen Wright, 210 pounds, 5'10", run a 4.38 40. That's the guy that I want.
Draymond Green got ejected in the first 4 minutes of the game.
God. Are we surprised?
Yes. Yeah, dude. Kuminga's out. I think they're missing someone else. And I don't know, I'm locked in on the Warriors. Shout out to Steph. And maybe he's not playing well because he's sitting on my bed. But my God, man, are you serious, Draymond Green?
I think we talked about. Are we going to get into Warriors talk here
Hey,
really quickly?
let's do it.
Maybe.
Let's go, Steph.
What did they pay Draymond? They paid Draymond. Like, I love Draymond. I love Draymond when we drafted him. I literally have a receipt where I'm
they're
like,
winning, though.
Draymond.
Oh,
I'm like,
Hedges
Draymond's.
they're still smoking them.
I was like, Draymond's going to be one of the best Warriors that we've had in a long. Like, I was all in on Draymond. I got a Dre jersey. I honestly didn't love that they re-signed him. I was okay with that kind of. I don't know if that's a popular opinion. It's probably unpopular.
4 years and $100 million, right?
Yeah, I was okay with.
He's a great defender.
Of course, and
he changes the dynamic of the way they defend.
He's a locker room leader. He's an emotional leader. All of those things. I love
just
Dre.
A knucklehead sometimes.
This is me not saying I don't value Dre. I love Dre, but I wouldn't have mind to see that little shift to let him go and bring in something new. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's just me. But
Draymond,
unpopular take.
Draymond Greenlaw, in my opinion. In my opinion.
Oh my God.
Oh, Kylie just got in late because he's like, Jason, you know you're my dog. Literally, Kendrick can't mess with Cole. Cole just needs that one classy joint. Literally what I said, though. Callie. Cole's the best rapper. Kendrick makes the best albums.
Feel different.
And Drake makes the best songs. Kendrick has the better albums than Cole. And that's why you said he needs that one. Cole's the best rapper. Kendrick makes the best albums. Drake makes the best songs.
I think Cole just does his own thing. Like, when you talk about dudes who like really ain't, he just to me doesn't come across like he cares about the clout and that type. He just makes music. Like,
yeah.
He's set in where he's got, like, he's not trying to do anything crazy. Cole's my guy, man.
This hip hop discussion is going to turn into something completely different in the comment section, and I don't want to.
We've been trying to avoid it the whole time.
We've been trying to avoid it.
Oh my
God!
What a good time.
Look, you know, I know that right now, the 49ers content is at a bit of a lull, right? And you've got 49er fans that are still not ready to jump back in after what happened with the Super Bowl. You got people that aren't exactly draft enthusiasts right now. You got people that don't want the gossip of people making stuff up about what's going to happen with Kyle and John and all that stuff. But I will say this. Brad does an incredible job of looking at, you know, players, and you can see that on his Twitter. I wrote an article today about Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle, and Brad and I had a nice little debate today in our text messages about arm length, and I think that's something that like I'm really happy that we had this talk, because I specifically outlined in my article about Jordan Morgan that yes, arm length is a concern, and if you're talking about concern, you're talking about the 49ers valuing it. But there's ways to win when your arms aren't as long as other guys. And I will tell you why I think it's bad, because if a defensive edge has longer arms, they can engage you a little bit earlier. They can get into your body a little bit earlier, but there's still ways to win. So I just want to tell 49er fans that are watching this, stick with the content, stick with it, you know, because we're still like, it's not going to be, you know, a lot of stuff about, like, for me, about Brandon Ayuk and his thing or whatever, which I still don't think he's going to get traded. He'll still be here. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, there's a lot of good draft stock content because the 49ers do have the 31st pick. They do have a bunch of them. So, like, just, I know it's hard. And if you aren't an enthusiast of the draft, I 100% get it. You know, I definitely wasn't, you know, for a long time before I started really getting into this. But yeah, stick with us, man. Like, we're still trying to at least hammer this stuff out so we can give everyone at least a different perspective of everything. So thank you guys for always watching and everything as well too. You know, Brad and I are going to start a hip hop podcast after this. That's next too, where we debate back and forth about J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. I would love to just do one of their
downfall of hip hop music.
I would love to do one of their albums at a time. Have us review it now, like, you know, and see what we have.
It's like a straight up listening party, like 30-second snippets. Like,
yeah, I mean, we'll get it.
Or we go bar for bar. We go bar for bar. I bring a bar, you bring a bar. Yeah. We have a bar off. See who's got the best lyrics, the
We'll
best beats.
we'll get our channels taken down if we actually play like
That's
the
true.
actual music. But
We'll get
yeah,
hit with copyright
free
so
copyrights. But yeah,
fast.
but no, like honestly, it's March 27th. The draft is a month away. I think that's kind of where my focus is gonna go now in terms of
Yeah.
where the content's gonna go. It's gonna go to way more draft centric stuff. And also I just got my hands on a nice little book, the offensive game plan guide of the 49ers. So I might just start doing rewinds of like
Bobby
film
Peters
breakdowns.
back at it.
Bobby Peters is cooking. I just bought that one, the Dolphins one, and the Lions one. Man, I am gonna sit here and watch and bask in the offensive game plans. So
I think I need to indulge because I'm admittedly not a huge scheme
oh yeah,
guy. I'm definitely locked in on traits and technique and things like that from that aspect. That's how I evaluate football as a whole.
you
But
ready?
I need to get better at the scheme stuff. Yeah.
The Chiefs are expected to sign rugby star Luis Reese Zamit. The plan is for him to be an offensive weapon, another weapon for Andy Reid's offense. It's a certain name that just keeps flashing across my face right now. I don't want to say it because he's an awful person and he doesn't deserve to be brought back up. But I see the vision. I see what they're trying to do here. I see what Andy Reid's trying to do here.
Hey, I used to play rugby, and I know how these rugby dudes are built.
Well, different.
Outside of him, the one that we're
Yeah.
not mentioning. But like when you think of like Jordan Mailata, that dude was a rugby
Oh
player.
yeah.
Dude's
He's a
phenomenal
dog.
offensive lineman. Yeah, phenomenal offensive lineman. So it can happen. Like you can, just because they didn't grow up with American football doesn't mean they can't ball.
Yeah.
And obviously didn't work out with the guy that we picked, but that doesn't mean this guy can't work out. And I've seen some of his stuff. He looks like a really fluid freaking athlete. So
How much help does Patrick Mahomes need?
is breaking? Is Patrick Mahomes elite?
Yeah, no. I wanna is Patrick Mahomes carried by Andy Reid and his weapons? My new column.
More at 10.
More at 10.
Oh my gosh. So yes, you're 100% right about the content coming up. I would say we're in that middle week of free agency dying. We did get Tre'Davious White signed yesterday to the Rams, right? So there's still things happening.
Hey, the Rams got Trey White. They got the young man from Cleveland, right?
Darius Williams
too.
They obviously lost Aaron Donald. That's a big loss.
Oh yeah, he was all right.
Maybe just a little bit.
He's just a little bit.
But hey, I think 49er fans still think Rams are cooked. I look at it like, dude, the Rams got better even with Aaron Donald retiring.
So, all right. So it seems to me that what the Rams are doing now is they're saying, hey, our pass rush might not be there. Maybe we kind of want to get on the back end and start having guys that can cover for a little bit longer. And that is making me angry because I would like the 49ers to start to marry that little pass rush and everything else with Brunskill's son retired. Y'all are cooking.
That's one of my favorite bits of all time.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%
bits of all time.
But the Rams said, "Hey man, we're not gonna be able to rush the passer. Let's try and cover on the back end." I respect it. I
actually think their pass rush is underrated because you're going to get Byron Young year 2. They had, I think it was Kobe Turner who ended up balling out
He's
as
good,
a
man.
rookie.
He's good.
And I guarantee you they're probably drafting defensive line early, and they're in the middle, so they could probably get the Lisiatu Latu if they wanted to. They can go with one of the Jared Verse if they wanted to. So they could go with one of the top edge options,
Chop,
or interior defensive tackle, even Chop as well. Chop's interesting. His value is all over the place. I can't put my eye on it. So I don't know if it's because of, does he have a perceived lack of production, and actually that's what it is. It's a perceived lack of production.
So I watch Chop a lot. And like I was telling, I see him in here. I see Justin in here. we can't be talking about these prospects too much on Twitter, because when people start to look up, their names, and they start to think that their team has a chance, they're going to retweet that and they're going to start sending it out there, and it's going to, and
Happens
what
to me all the time.
no, and what we found
All
out
my
today,
clips.
is the 49ers totally make decisions based on our hypotheticals and our player evaluations.
They
But
definitely do. We know Kyle watches State of the Franchise.
Kyle's definitely locked in on State of the Franchise right now. Like, with
he's
a
watching.
glass of wine, he's
He's
definitely
in
watching.
Orlando right now.
Yeah.
He's got to pull it
Right.
up on the phone. Sitting
Got
in
a glass on the
bar.
wine. Got a glass of wine. He's definitely watching.
These
But
distinguished gentlemen's really know ball.
100%. But Chop is, his get off and his explosiveness is crazy. Now, I think the issues come in is lack of production, and what about his bag? What's
Lack
the
of
bag?
refinement.
Right. What's the bag? What's the bag? Like, where's the bag? Right? Like,
Where's
what do
the pass rush plan?
Right. What's the bag? It can't be, I'm going to run past you every single time, because they're going to time that up and they're going to get it done. Right.
Yes.
But you need a bag. And I think that's kind of where we've gone wrong with Drake Jackson, because the bag hasn't been opened up yet.
He did not have a pass rush bag when he was coming out of USC. He was a raw talent.
Right.
He didn't have the technical aspects of the game dialed, and you've seen that be a struggle for him to latch on in the NFL.
So that's my thing, is there are people now, and this is why you said the value is all over the place, because you're betting on trades and you're betting on getting him in the building and then being able to add to that.
Yeah.
That's the part that is either exciting for franchises who are going to try to draft him, or scary for these franchises that have a chance to take him. Because at the end of the day, the draft's a crapshoot, but right now you are looking at a guy who you can totally see dominating the league and having 10, 12 sacks, just being an edge guy, just being a situational pass rusher at certain times. Yeah. I do think he's better at setting the edge than people are giving him credit for, which I think is something that's very, very important, especially, considering what the 49ers have just been able to do. But you can totally see him being a 10 to 12 sack guy, and I see the bag, like, that he could add to it, but I do see where people would be hesitant, and he could just be a guy who just doesn't do anything, Brad. And I think that's, like, his range of outcomes is literally, like, elite guy, 10 to 12 sacks, to literally nothing, like rotational guy, like literally nothing. And I think that's scary, man. That's a lot to bet on early on in the first round.
I 100% agree with that. That's one of the hardest things, I think, of the evaluation, is discerning technique versus raw talent. Because when you see the raw talent, you're like, man, I could coach that dude up. I could teach him these things. But if there's anything that I learned from my playing days, is that's not the case. I use the example all the time. The kick step that we see offensive linemen use, like it's just part of their pass set. They have to do it.
You do it when we're walking down the street sometimes. Like, you just start like we'll be waiting for the light, and you're like,
It took me an entire calendar year to figure out how to do it properly. And this is repping it every single day, in season, off season, summer, spring ball. It finally clicked of how I keep my balance, how I keep my foot speed, how I can counter inside moves and do everything off the kick step. That's the base of your entire pass set. It is not easy to learn these technical things. That's why I'm always on the hunt for, like, who's got technique already, because that means they got a base that I can really build on, even if they lack certain physical measurables, maybe like short arms, or they just don't move as well, but they have the requisite technical ability. You can beat talent with technique. You really can. And so that's why, for me, that's why this conversation about Chop is a challenging evaluation, because you see the talent, but if you can't be technical and you can't be smart with it, you're nothing. Right. Because that's what the NFL is. It's all technique. Yes, it's all the greatest, best athletes, but the guys who rise are all technically driven and advanced. They're smart. They understand. There's 3 steps ahead of everything. That's the difference maker in the NFL, is how you can manage the technical aspect of it and play the game within the game. Just because you can move well and you look good in football pads doesn't mean you're any good.
Right.
So with Chop, that makes sense. I haven't done a deep study on him other than just seeing the measurables. The measurables, like I saw him do his 3-cone. I've seen him do his drills, his field drills, and you can just pull a trait.
Split.
You pull the traits off that. You can pull traits off of anything. You pull the traits off that, you're like, oh, this dude is fluid athlete, a rare fluid athlete. And that's where you have to really balance out your tape study of like, is he a fugazi? Is this going to turn into something, or is this what we're going to have? He's just going to be fast and have good size, but not actually win.
Right.
Because anytime he throws a move, the offensive tackle knows how to bait the technique or
you're throwing at the same time. I mean, you're throwing the same thing. Like you can't bull rush everybody in this league, and you can't rush everybody in this
power
league.
Everything. Like you got to do like. So that makes sense. Sense.
I think a lot of what's going to come down to who takes Chop is who they believe in their building can maximize his potential. And I think that is a belief that a lot of 49er fans have in terms of like, hey, Coach K, he's getting guys paid left and right, like Omenihu and Arden Key. And, I looked up Arden Key's pass rush win rate.
There you
go.
He's
actually really, really high still on this list. And he unlocked something, and he took it with him to Jacksonville. So a lot of Chop is going to come down to you betting on traits, but you betting on yourself to get the most that you can out of those traits. And that's what makes, again, the draft process is so fun. It is frustrating. It's fascinating. But again,
gotta be good at tracking trends.
Yeah. And like, I would have a hard time, Brad Graham, if he's sitting around at 31. I would have a hard time passing on Chop Robinson. I would have a hard time with it. Someone in that building would have to say to me, you're tripping, go sit down, lay off the vodka, anything. Like, you would have to tell me whatever it is. Like, stay away from it. But I would have a hard time. I would have to sit there and look at everybody in that room and say, I don't see how we can let this guy get past us because he's not coming back to us again in the second round.
Well, and I think you can make the case, like, let's say that we're in that war room. Like our conversation to John Lynch, if we're pro Chop, and John is coming back at us, Kyle's coming back at us, and Kosurik's like, yeah, but he's too raw. Like, he doesn't have the traits that we need. Well, our thing would be like, well, we have Leonard Floyd for 2 years locked in. We don't need him to play an every down role. And in fact, you have a guy with a similar skill set, similar mold, and everything that we've heard of Leonard Floyd so far is this guy's a worker.
Yeah.
This guy loves the grind. He's about it. So if you can take a young guy like Chop with that skill set and the upside, and you play him in a situation where he can play sparingly and play where he is needed, potentially as just a pure pass rusher,
situational pass rusher,
and let him learn and develop, and not put that pressure on him, then why not take a shot at 31? We're not going to find a pass rusher with this ability anywhere else beyond this. And pass rushing is a premium, and we got to get cost controlled, and it fits the timeline, and it fits a need. Let's do it.
So my question would be, and we're talking about, draft now. Now we're really getting into the draft. Right?
Yeah, we're talking hypothetical draft room scenarios.
Let's do it.
This is real.
At 31, and I don't think this is possible, but this is me hypothetical, and I'm going to throw it to you. At 31, Chop Robinson, Graham Barton, and Jordan Morgan. All three of them are there. You're not going to get two of them. You're going to leave with one. You're leaving with one of them. Just one of them. That is a war room that I would literally turn into a war.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Because Graham Barton, I think that's a guy I will bite on the size argument. I've watched his tape. His tape is phenomenal.
But he plays it all. He plays it all.
He does. The technique aspect that we were just talking about with Chop, he's got it in spades. He's got all the tech. He's dripping with technique. He's got the mentality. He's got the smarts. The only knock is on the physical. But I also think
I'm still here.
that in today's NFL, I think it would suit the NFL to go more athletic interior offensive line. They need to get more athletes on the interior. That's why I'm in like Fautanu is my number one draft crush right now because he's an athlete. He can play all 5 spots. You can make the same argument with Barton. So that becomes a challenge. Jordan Morgan can definitely be a starting tackle in this league for the next 10 years. But I do think he is pigeonholed into just being a tackle. I don't see the guard necessarily. I I'm really keen on paying attention to guys that I think should kick into guard and who shouldn't. He's just a guy where I'm not seeing that. And I think the big thing that like we were kind of talking about offline, it's like, well, he's got short arms, he's got to kick inside. And it's like, I base that off base.
Yeah.
When I'm making my judgments of who should kick inside, I'm looking at feet. That's the biggest thing. Feet and technique. He's got technique. He's got good enough baseline feet that I think he can survive at tackle. He could probably play at guard, but I don't see it as a need. And then with Chop, he's the most athletically talented prospect out of the 3, and it's not even close. He's in a completely different tier.
Right.
Like 3 tiers ahead from a physical standpoint. So that's a great hypothetical, Jason. Yeah. Like that's I don't even know who I'd pick. I'm like, right. I'm sitting here thinking it out loud. Like, I don't know who I'd pick.
The thing is everyone has a board. And I had the great Brian Peacock on the Sprint Right Option podcast.
Shout out Peacock.
Draft enthusiast, shadow draft master.
Legend.
Everyone has a plan for who is on the board until someone throws your plan out of whack. You think you think Graham Barton's going to be there at 31. He ends up going 17 to somebody, right? Like, or something like that, right? And it was a little bit that he was saying was really true about, you know how you hear that a team's met with this player and you're like, oh, well, that's not a need. I don't understand. But you need to do your research in case the board starts to get out of whack and there's a whole bunch of nonsense that happens. And now this player's in your lap and you didn't do any research on them because you thought they weren't a need.
Right.
So I saw it up there and oh my God, I hope you can find it because that's a great hypothetical. This one is the best one out of all of them. And this is where I was kind of going with it. Hold on. Someone had it. Keep going. Something about Kool-Aid, Barton, or oh my God. Can you see it, Brad? Let's see.
I'm looking.
Oh my God. This is it. This is all bad streaming right now. I apologize, guys.
Hey,
there it is. Mark Espinoza. Kool-Aid, Chop, or Graham Barton at 31. At 7:58, it looks like I'm Kool-Aid, Chop, or Graham Barton. Now, first of all,
I'm probably going Kool-Aid.
I don't think Kool-Aid gets past the Eagles. I don't think he gets past the Eagles. They have big problems in their secondary. James Bradbury is still on their roster. They're not like I don't think but the draft's weird. Everybody goes for something different, right? Yeah. In that regard, I go Kool-Aid and I don't even look back. Like I run it up there. I run it up there because then, and I like the move of Isaac Yidium. I like that move because he had a great season as an outside corner, but that is yet to be seen as whether it's the outlier or his rule now. But think about the type of player you'd be getting from Alabama. So your competition, question is off the board, like right off the rip. Like, he's obviously there. He should be all the way back from the injury, and then he's cheap. And then you can kick Lenoir inside while having a guy who can start immediately at 31. Immediately. Like there's no shot that nobody else plays over him at that point. Unless he's just awful. And then the 49ers will be doing something that they haven't done, which is invest early on in cornerback. Again, completely hypothetical. I don't think he makes it at 31. I think a lot of teams have him valued a lot higher, regardless if he slides because of the injury or whatever concerns were being floated around at the combine, right, Brad? What was it? Effort issues and whatever it is. Fine. I feel like people leak that out there to get guys to like slide. Like, you know how we joke around? Like, if I was the Falcons, I would trade Kyle Pitts like to the Niners. Like, like we joke around like that. Like that feels like what that is, that tactic. But man, if Kool-Aid's there at 31, I think you don't even let it get down to 4 minutes on the clock. You run that thing up there. And John Lynch should be like crawling all over the steps, like trying to hand that thing up, like to get him up there.
Yeah, no, I think Kool-Aid would be my pick as well. And like, yeah, I was talking to his trainer at the combine, and I was like, so what's the deal? Why what's all this? Where's Kool-Aid valued, and why is it all over the place? He's like, well, from a play style standpoint, he's probably the best cornerback in this league or in this draft, but he does have some character concerns, and it's all about right fit. And this is a guy who trains Ayuk, trains Trey Lance, trains Zach Wilson, trains a bunch of guys. He told me he kept it 100 on Zach Wilson. He told me about this in 2021 about why Zach Wilson struggled and why he will continue to struggle. And he was 100% right. And he gave it to me from, listen, the guy needs structure. And guess who has some of the best structure and support of any team in the NFL? Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. And so if you can put Kool-Aid into that system, he will thrive. And so to me, I was like, oh, that's all I need to hear. Like that, I think that's part of the hardest part about evaluation is like when someone has character concerns, how do you quantify it? Like I can't talk to this guy. I'm not a personal detective. I can't look into his history. But when you get with guys who are around him all the time and they can say, there are concerns, but these are the pathways for success, and they can lay it out to you. And they're like, listen, we know Kyle. We know how Kyle works. We know all that good stuff. He would fit really well with Kyle. And I'm like, all right, well, that's all I needed to know. Like if those are the concerns and you're not concerned about him being with Kyle, and we know Kyle and whatever, right?
And if they're drafting him, they're not drafting him to be some save project. It's because they've looked him dead in the eye. Yeah. They've sat in that room and they're confident in the person that he is.
Yes,
they're not going to be like
100%.
So that's another thing.
Now, I don't think talent's the question. Talent isn't the question.
All right, Reuben Foster. And I'm glad you brought that up, KJ, because I knew that was coming.
Reuben Foster.
Reuben Foster had fallen so far that if you don't try there to see what you can do, and I'm sure Reuben said all the right things in the interview. He said all the right things. It's like, all right, it's like a job interview, Brad.
I love that pick, dude.
Of course. It was a steal. Look, in that moment,
traded up, we got Reuben.
In that moment, hindsight's 20/20. But I'll give it to you guys in this way. Every single one of us has been on a job interview. Nobody goes into that job interview and says, hey, man, the probationary period, I'm going to be there every day. But once I'm locked in, I'm going to start calling out probably like once or twice a month. I'm going to show up late maybe 3 times a week. And, my performance is going to dip a little because, I just don't
be inconsistent.
It's going to be inconsistent. So that one, it's a swing and a miss. It's a swing and a miss because of like what happened. Obviously, character issues now.
Yeah.
But man, when you look at that value and you look at what you were trying to get and what you were trying to tap into, I don't blame them. I do not blame them.
No, I don't blame them at all. And if you think about it from a personality standpoint, they went with Solomon Thomas, probably the A+ character grade.
Yeah, because he was in class with John Lynch. And shout out to Solomon though. He's carving out a nice little solid career. I think
I like Solomon, man.
He had I get it.
That and obviously some other stuff that went down. But then you go Reuben, right? Who's the opposite of that. All the character concerns, all the red flags, all that stuff, but a dog on the field.
I think Joey's right. He's dead on right there with that comment right there.
Foster was a disaster.
No, ever since the Foster disaster, they have been absolutely locked in on character. 100%.
Bingo. That's where we, and also Joe Williams.
Yep.
Also Joe Williams.
It's a learning lesson.
Yeah. And so they're like, we can't get knuckleheads. And what do they always talk about? Even the players talk about it. Anytime they bring a knucklehead in here, he finds himself on the outs. I think of like Robert Condici.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he was actually having a good camp.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy could actually contribute. I don't think he fit that personality. I think he was kind of knucklehead, kind of brash, outlandish, like loud,
or just didn't want to work as hard as they wanted, and he just didn't embody what they want. And that's what literally what Lynch said. We have a process of players, their tape, and character.
Yeah.
And he literally said that when we asked the question, we just draft good players. We don't care where they go, and they still have a process. It's a balance of character and their tape and their play.
Well, Jason, remember when we were at the combine and we happened to strike up a conversation with a very high-ranking member of the 49ers front office?
Correct.
And we were talking about Jair Brown.
Yeah.
And we all have talked. I've interviewed him at the Super Bowl. You interviewed him at that private event that he did as a rookie, I think it was.
Yeah, no,
And
it was his day right before he didn't even go to camp yet.
yeah. And so we were all talking about him from a place of like, we've all talked to this kid, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or you drafted him, you can feel his presence.
Oh yeah.
You can feel like this is a good dude. Like in every sense, like the second he starts talking, you're like, oh yeah, you're a real one. Like you're there, you're not, nothing's fake about you. Like then you can see the intensity in his eyes.
Yep.
And we just sat there and we just talked about how, right, he was saying like Jair just won over the whole building and all of that stuff. So character's huge.
Yeah.
Character's huge.
But it has to be in combination with tape. And the same things that they liked about Talanoa Hufanga are the same things that they liked about Jair Brown. Ball hawk, downhill, maybe lacks the straight line speed that you need, but instincts you can't teach. And you can't teach finding the ball. And, Tig has an interception in the Super Bowl. He has an interception in his first extended play against Tampa Bay. He's a guy that is around the ball. You need to refine those little things.
Just his experience. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And he says, like, when you're talking to him, you can't teach what I have. I understand what's in front of me. I'm ready to help this team win a Super Bowl. Never once is anything that you've ever talked to Tig about or ever spoken to him about has to do with himself. Unless you ask him. It doesn't come up, right? Not me, not I. The guy, there is something to be said about somebody who had to go to junior college, then work his way to Penn State, be Rose Bowl MVP. I think he understands the grind, and he understands that, there's certain guys that get by on talent early on. They don't have the work ethic, but they get picked because people believe they can get that out of them. But if you're not built with that inside of you, and this is it, Brad, this is it, and this is the best thing you've ever told me. The hardest thing to scout is not the player. The hardest thing to scout is the person. And you can have everything at your fingertips. You can be dominant. But if you're not ready to work, if you're not ready to put in the work, if you're not ready to be like one of those guys, these 49ers guys, they're going to prioritize that a little bit more. And it may make us angry because we're like, oh my God, look at this guy's talent. Look at this guy's tape. Look at this guy. But they've earned themselves at least the benefit of the doubt in that way, in which they won't look crazy from a character standpoint if those guys are there, because you can have a guy who's a wrecking ball on the field and still put you in bad positions off the field.
Absolutely. So that's a good call. Yeah, they definitely learned. I think they'd learned some hard lessons. But I think fundamentally that's always been a key element for them. They just watched it completely backfire in front of their face in the middle of trying to build a new culture and have to go through that drama nonstop. I mean, oh, dude, I can't even. The feeling I had when he was in Tampa Bay and they're like, they just released Reuben Foster. I said, what? They released Reuben Foster? He brought the girl to the room when he wasn't supposed to. I was like, oh my God.
And what makes it worse is you already were on alert.
Yeah. Like you already were like, you're out of strikes, pal. One more.
And I respect the 49ers for making the decision that they made, because it was the right move. But it's hard, especially when jobs are on the line. This is the hard part too, right? Like, you see us joking around with these picks, and all we have to do is like get on Twitter and be like, "Hey, I like this guy. He wasn't good. Hey, sue me." No, when you draft these guys and they don't produce, you're fired. Or your job gets called into question. Like, think about the pressure that comes with that, because we can all sit here and just say, hey, hey, I missed on this guy. I didn't really see it with this guy. And that's fine. We get to keep talking about it, and we don't get to lose our job. We don't get to lose our Twitter account or our YouTube account because we missed on a draft pick or because
we don't get tagged for fraudulent draft
Right.
evaluator every time we tweet something.
or we don't get congratulated when we get it right. But that's the part. That's why it's so good about like talking about, this. But these guys really have their jobs on the line. John Lynch and this organization, they've earned the equity to be able to do what they want because of the winning. That's completely different. But
I mean, they've earned the equity so much that they traded multiple first-round picks to go get,
and they're still here, and they're
traded
still here.
them,
right?
And they're still here.
So think about
and no one's even in question. Their job's not in question. If their job comes in question, it's not because of the Trey Lance pick.
Right.
It's because of other things.
Because they haven't won a Super Bowl. But exactly. Think about Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles has the world at his fingertips. I just traded for Keenan Allen. I've got DJ Moore. We've got a solid defense. I've got 2 picks in the first round. And if the Chicago Bears do not turn in results immediately, Ryan Poles,
he's gone.
You better learn Walmart, pal. It's crazy. It's crazy. He's gotten a few years, but now they're allowing him again to go back. Obviously right now, Caleb Williams and the Bears, they're installing the offense. They've been saying so. It's done. It's a done deal. I don't think that like anybody's worried about that.
Right.
But when we talk about, these prospects, we talk about them with no sort of reprisal or consequences. These guys, and especially the Bears are starving. And the Bears fans are starving, and they're going to open up a new stadium soon. I don't know where it's going to be, all those things. You've got to hit. You've got to hit. And if you don't, not only are you fired, unfortunately, with the way that this game goes and the way that results are, this is still a results-driven business, you may not never get a job again. And that's scary, Brad. That's real scary.
Apparently, the quarterback discourse sounded like it rivaled 49ers quarterback discourse.
Oh, man. You know how many people were mad that they traded Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a lot of – also, what it sounds like, a lot of people inside the building also mad.
Hey, kind of what we heard a little bit about the Picket 3. It's a split building on who they should have picked. But it doesn't matter. We got our guy now. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Brock Purdy is your franchise quarterback, and we are free of these conversations. But
that's true. That's very
do not think that everyone in the building is going to be aligned on someone, or do not think that everyone's going to be happy, especially when you're talking about quarterback on who they should pick. And that's what makes this so hard.
Real quick, if you had to lean one way or the other, superstar bust, where are you leaning with Caleb?
I think it's easier to say that it's easier to just say he's going to be a bust based on these track records, because Trevor Lawrence is the only guy that looks like he's serviceable from this generational draft class that we were supposed to have. And that hurts me hard. It hurts my heart because how much we love Justin. It's easier to lean bust, but
that's a good point.
I'm going to say superstar, and I'm going to jump out on the other side. I'm going to jump out on the other. It's far easier right now when any quarterback comes out. It's far easier to just say he's going to be a bust, because look at all these guys that come out in these draft classes, right? For instance, the one with Trey Lance. Mac Jones is now Trevor Lawrence's backup. Trey Lance is now the 3rd quarterback in Dallas. Zach Wilson is, I don't even know. Justin Fields is now going to be maybe fighting for a job in Pittsburgh. Think about how big everybody was on this class and thinking about, remember, Mac's going to be the best quarterback. Mac's going to be selling cars in Jacksonville soon. Like, it's funny to me because
he's going to be driving you your Popeyes.
He's going to be the one bringing my Uber Eats.
Nuggets.
Yeah, he's going to be the one bringing my Uber Eats. But it's crazy because you have all these guys that are there, and you look at them and you say, this guy's a can't miss. This guy's a can't miss. And there's still people to this day that are saying that Trevor Lawrence, ain't that guy. Now,
all that, but that was a fantasy football guy.
Oh, listen, if a fantasy football guy is giving a take on football, I think it's like fair to say that you should probably eschew that evaluation. Not all of them. Some of them,
right? They're good ones.
Some of them know what they're talking about.
Mass quantity, is just random dudes.
Some of them know what they're talking about. But now look at Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, right? If the Panthers had to do it again, would they take CJ Stroud? But I would say this. putting CJ Stroud against that with that offensive line, I don't think you'd get the results that you got. I don't think it's hard to say that CJ Stroud's better than Bryce Young.
No.
Okay. But if a Panthers fan who's upset today believes that CJ Stroud would have lifted that team, that coach, that offensive line, and lifted them to a playoff victory and making the divisional round in the NFC, I would say I doubt it. And situation matters. Situation matters so much. So that's what makes all this interesting. So everybody, you can look at Caleb Williams right now, and the reason that a lot of people would run and say bust, and I think it's kind of fair, is because everybody's saying can't miss. And I think both of those are unfair. Can't miss and bust are insane, right?
Yeah.
Where's the gray part? Where's the middle? Where's the middle with Caleb Williams? If Caleb Williams,
can he be all right? Can
right.
he be a
If Caleb
quality
Williams
starter, or is that a bust?
Right. If Caleb Williams was a top 15 guy going into his first year, and he's a top 15 guy the whole year, and they've got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, they've shored up the offensive line, the defense is actually pretty good, and they win some games, are you going to look at that and say that that's not the right way that they should have done that? Caleb Williams doesn't have to be number one. He doesn't have to be number one. Like, he doesn't got to be the best. But if he's solid and he starts to give them top 15 returns in his first season and can only go up from there, I don't see how you see that as a loss.
Yeah. I think one thing that's undeniable about Caleb is his talent.
Yeah.
I think what comes into question is some character concerns. That's about it.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with anything that came out recently, which I saw.
Good. I'm
on
glad you.
social
Thank
media.
you. Thank you. Thank you for
It has
saying
nothing to do with that. I don't care. It's the other things. It's like it's the intangible aspects of actually playing the quarterback position. We look at Caleb do the wow things outside of structure. Can you play within structure and make the wow throws within the structure on time, accurate?
And
you can't survive doing outside the pocket, doing crazy things. It makes for good highlights, but you can't survive. Ask Justin Fields.
And Brad,
you have to play within the pocket.
Eberflus and that offense, they're going to run the hell out of the football.
Yeah.
And they're going to ask him to manage the game, make the throws that we have off play action, all of those things. Show us that if he can game manage his first year, then sky's the limit. Because all the other stuff is still in the bag. But if he starts to play hero ball early on and he starts to try to run around and do all that, and playing out, that's when you're going to find yourself in a problem where that could either, one, not only become bad habits, but two, stunt his development.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest part. I don't know what's scarier, the bad habits or the stunted development. Because you do still in this league have to play from the pocket. Still. And the good ones still really do. Nobody just runs around. I think Jalen Hurts tried it this year, and you just saw him floating around and just and that's when you get the results you get. But if you can't play in structure in the pocket, then those plays out of structure are not available to you. And they're not something that they want you to do.
Or they're not that impressive. Because I feel like when you're playing within structure and then you have to make something shake, that's when you're like, oh, he was executing the offense. They're doing what they need to do. They got stalled. He made a play. He made something happen.
Mm-hmm.
These are all athletes. They can all make plays. They can all do big, crazy things.
And I think that's what coaches want. I want you to execute the plays that are there that we put for you. But when it's not there and the defense clamps down or your guy isn't getting separation, can you lift us a little bit? Can you just lift us a little bit with either your legs by giving yourself more time to throw the football or just running? So I don't envy these guys, and it couldn't be me because my franchise doesn't have to look at quarterbacks anymore. I don't envy looking at these quarterbacks. And I love Tony's comment. Nobody can live off script in the NFL, not even Mahomes. Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls.
That's true.
I'd say he's living pretty well off script.
Let's end it with Justin's
Oh yeah.
Super chat right here. He says, "What are the chances
He runs a
49ers
victory lap on Kalijah Kancey. Go for it. Go. Read it, Brad.
What are the what are the chances the 49ers trade up?" They call him Jerry, right? Jerry Newton, or am I tripping? Because
Yeah.
these names, Jerzon,
No, Justin knows his full name.
right? I know, but I think they call him Jerry. I
Yeah,
don't know.
like what if I
Easier
called
for
you?
me.
What
Easier
if I
for me to
called you?
say.
What if I called you Bradley Graham?
Don't you? Or am I tripping? Or you
I
call it
do,
Brad Graham. You said
but
Brad
nobody
Graham.
knows you as Bradley Graham. They know you as Brad Graham, guy who's in the Elite Eight in the media bracket.
I'm going against Lombardi, baby.
I got fried by Lombardi. Shout out to Lombardi. He cooked me.
Hey,
But hey,
you
I
put up
didn't.
a good fight against Lombardi.
Sure did.
I
Hey,
was like,
look,
look
man.
at that guy.
Hey, man. I was actually very shocked. Shout out to everybody who voted for me against David Lombardi. I appreciate that, and I know why I lost. I'm good. But yeah, hey, man. I was very shocked. I knew I was gonna lose. I just didn't know I was gonna get it that close. But shout out to
No,
you guys, man.
I was like, Jason's got, like, he's got a shot here.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, okay,
Rob
like,
was
hey,
Rob was hitting me. He's like, "Why do you have a
big
shot?"
dog out here in these streets? You might not like Lombardi. He's a big dog out here in these streets.
Hey, man. Hey, the biggest dog because he's like taller than me or whatever.
He's huge.
Yeah.
It's like 6'6".
But hey, man, once I saw, I was like, damn. I was like, it ends here, like, But hey, getting to the Sweet 16 again, man. Shout out to you guys who voted. I think it's a lot of fun. But honestly, man, I'm humbled by the outpouring of the votes and stuff like that. That means you guys like my crazy rants and all that stuff, man.
No,
Shout out to you guys.
I'm surprised too, man. It's crazy. Like, obviously, seeing how far you were able to get. Like, I'm now on my third beat reporter. I haven't checked recently, so I don't know how I'm doing. But beating Nick Wagner, like Nick Wagner, to me, I love Nick Wagner.
ESPN.
Like, he's so good at what he does because he just literally. There's no he just reports factual information about the Niners. There's no BS. It's just,
you're my dark horse, Brad. You're the one that I've been looking at. I think this is your year. You've done so many good things. The YouTube is cracking. I think everybody knows that your content is not only a lot of you reporting on what the team does, but you giving insight into things that the team needs. Brad, man, I think the only person that could bring down Eric Crocker is Bradley Graham, in my opinion.
Bro, I don't know how. First of all, it's going to be a hell of a task getting past Lombardi. First of all,
yeah. First of all,
that's not even done.
I think you get it done.
Mayoko.
I think you get it done.
Mayoko cooked me last year, so I've already been taken down. So it'll be a rematch. But Mayoko's, hey, he's the Niner GOAT, man.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's the Niner beat reporter GOAT. So it's like, that's a tough task.
Hey, I'll say this, man. I was just happy that I was able to put up a fight because I thought it was over. But hey, get to Justice League, man.
Yeah, I was proud. I was like, because it was like close.
It was close. Rob was like, damn. He was like, you guys went down to the wire, and I was like, I could only vote once. I was like, you turned it off. Like, I can't keep making accounts.
Isn't it funny? It's like the brackets, like one of those things where it's like, I don't care, man. And then we're all competitive, right?
No, we are. No, when I got to Lombardi, I was like, all right. I was like, I want to turn up a little bit. I was like, it is time. Like, I started hitting up, my mom, and I was like, hey, I know you don't know how to use the internet. Like, are you gonna get in here and do this or like?
No, dude, it's so funny.
No, but shout out to Lombardi. Shout out to the content creator space that we're in, man. This is a lot of fun.
64
man.
heads,
yeah,
and they're still
missing people. Still missing people. Yeah, 100%.
And it's just like it's crazy. Like 100%. This honestly could be something that we look at in like 5 years from now, where it's like, because you see me probably talk about it. I think the 49ers community of content creators is like a microcosm of what media will look like for every team eventually.
New media.
It will be a literal class of content creators that covers every single team. Yeah. That eventually will get to the same level as beat reporters.
Yeah. New media.
The difference might be access, but the reach won't.
Yeah.
The reach could even be further.
And I think a lot of those guys they believe that too. Like we go to the combine, we say what's up to Mayoko and Lombardi and JLC and Mike Silver and all those guys. They have nothing but nice things to say, and I think that's kind of just where the game is going. And I think it's humbling enough to get respect from those people who actually are in the building, knowing that we can only do what we do outside the building and what we're given. So it's still humbling, like, and again, it's all about, building relationships and just putting your best foot forward. But yeah, man, like everything is kind of changing. And I think, with you even see like LeBron and JJ Redick got a YouTube podcast, and
Oh, do
Shannon
they? I didn't
Sharp,
even see that.
yeah, Shannon Sharp and Ocho have their YouTube
Oh,
podcast.
they're
Things are
killing it.
changing. Things are
Yeah,
changing, man. Like it's just
absolutely.
changing a little bit, and you just have to be able to adapt. And I think a lot of those people have already built and solidified themselves, and they know what they're gonna do, and they're still gonna have their branch audience, but they still respect at least a little bit of what we do.
They can't, at minimum, they can't deny.
Oh yeah, oh
They're
yeah,
like, before they might have been able to like, those
right,
podcasters, those content creators. Now
right,
they're like, we're standing next to them at these events. They're like,
right.
all
That's
right,
all we can do. And you know what? All we do is give them massive respect, and all we
of
do
course.
is and just put our best
Hey,
foot forward.
they paved their own lane. They did it their own way.
Yep.
We obviously haven't done it our own way.
Right,
It's definitely a different style because
right.
that's just all we had at our fingertips. But hey, hard work respects hard work.
That's it.
Always.
That's it.
Always.
100%.
I don't even know how we got on the creator bracket.
Hey,
Um, but I guess, hey, vote for me.
Justin wants his flowers for Kalijah Cansey. Let
I
me be
know.
the
I'm
first
still
to
trying
say,
to get. We didn't even get through the question. I was trying
right.
to figure out what do they call him. It's
Yeah,
Johnny. He said it's Johnny.
Johnny.
Johnny Newton. He's only 21 years old and looks a lot like Cansey. I've actually seen this name, obviously, of course, come from Justin first, but I've seen the hype pick up within the last 2 weeks on him, and of course, Justin's like he's Cansey 2.0, and Cansey turned out to be a dog, just like Justin pointed out, undersized but fast, and that's hey, sign me up for those types of interior defensive tackles. I'm down. I'm not afraid of an undersized defensive tackle who's got elite first step get off and a pass rush move and some strength. In fact, again, I think trenches needs to go more streamlined. That's why I'm like so hyped on Fautanu as an offensive lineman. Offensive linemen need to look like Troy Fautanu. They need to be 6'4, 300, 305 athletes. And if you can get that on the offensive line, going up against other defensive linemen, kind of like in that mold, bro, there's such another level for the trenches, in my opinion. To me, Troy excites me because I see the vision. Like that's the vision of like an offensive line I want. I want athletes. I want guys who can move but are strong and technically driven. And if you get 5 of those dogs on an offensive line, bro, no one's stopping them. No one's stopping that offense just
And
because the offensive line alone.
right, and then I think again, where they fall.
Yeah.
Don't force need over best player available if you can work the board and let the board come to you. When you start forcing player because of need is when you find yourself in positions where you're grasping later on.
You take Javon Kinlaw and
right. And you
those
could have had, don't say his name. You could have had, yeah. Yeah, it still bothers me today. But Javon Kinlaw, shout out to him.
I just got a little heartburn just thinking about it.
Oh yeah. TW T Worths is the name, right? Like that could have been there.
No, my guy's CD.
Oh well, I mean, T Worth, CD Lamb.
Mine was CD Justin Jefferson. No, not Justin Jefferson. CD
Jerry Jeudy.
Justin Jeffrey? No.
Justin Jefferson.
Not the defensive tackle for the Titans.
Oh, Jesus.
Justin Jeffries?
Jeffries is his
Simmons. No, Justin Simmons. No.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Yes.
Thank you. Jeez, my God.
Good God. See, this damn draft is burning our brains.
I know, seriously.
But yeah, like when you find yourself just saying, hey, we traded a defensive tackle, let's go get a defensive tackle, you're going to put yourself a little bit in a spot where it looks bad. And it put a lot of pressure on Kinlaw to immediately be that guy, right? Because you're replacing 91 with 99. And now 99 can't afford to develop. 99 can't afford to be a guy who can miss games. 99 has to be moving in the direction of 91. And that's unfair to him. But when you have guys on the board that are best player available, and I don't envy any team that has to be in this, not the 49ers, not anybody, because again, your jobs are tied to this. But man, best player available, it starts to make you look smarter down the draft because then you can start to really maneuver. but you've shored up something different, and it's hard. It's an imperfect science. Obviously, everything's a crapshoot, and every round, your chance of hitting goes down by 25-30%. And the first round is already 50% of the 32. It's already 50. So it goes down more and more, which is what makes what the 49ers have done building this team later on in the draft that much more special. But man, like that's why I had to ask John Lynch about best player available and need. They said they just wanted, they just want good players. And I think that's what they're going to do. And I think they have their process, and I think we have to they have earned the benefit of the doubt, but Brad, as I told you, the last 2 drafts, they've kind of messed around a little bit too much with next year this guy, next year this guy, next year this guy, or like, hey, he's a developmental. Now, you don't need guys that immediately step in round 1 or play week 1, but you need guys to at least pressure guys week 1.
You need contributors.
Right. Yeah. You need contributors. Yeah. And I think that's why this is such an important draft, because you've gone to the point where the last 2 drafts, obviously you didn't have first round picks. You had what you had, but every kind of pick was like, well, eventually, hey, Drake Jackson's going to be good 2 years down the line for sure. Like, let's get there.
Cameron TPP and Danny Gray are looking
right. Danny Gray still hasn't. Danny Gray has 3 more catches than me. Like you're starting to go through this, and now you're looking at your contributors, and it's year 3, and you don't know what you have in any of these guys. I respect the process, but you've got to put yourself in a position where guys, they don't have to immediately contribute, but they have to push guys for their spots.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a question of can the 49ers do it. They've proven they can. They can make the right selections, and they can hit, and they can find draft gems. They can find it. We know it's a crapshoot, right? But this is the year, like it feels like out of all years, that's like
it's the most important one.
We need like 3 solid contributors.
It's the most important one. It's the most important one because you don't have to worry about quarterback anymore.
Right. We need some cost control guys. We need some guys that can alleviate some of these cap issues when we do throw the bag at Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk. And we pay these guys. We need cost-controlled rookies. So you have to start identifying what those positions need to be. And then you need to get guys to fill that, not only for now, but in the future, that you can at least take a breath from having to pay everyone, because you have had success landing guys in the draft. So it's going to be interesting, but I do think that next week for sure, draft coverage that's pretty much it. There's no more free agency talk, no more NFL owners meetings. So all that kind of fluff that we talked about earlier in the week, that'll be over with pretty much.
We can just pivot to is Brandon Ayuk going to be traded on draft day?
Percentage.
That's clearly a sarcastic
percentage. Comment. Throw a percentage on it. What percentage is he traded on draft day?
5%.
Oh, it's pretty high. It's actually higher than I expected.
5%. And that means 95% chance that Brandon Ayuk's going to be here. I think that's almost a certainty. Yeah. I mean,
I'm probably at like 98% that he stays.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, flexibility, right? If someone comes and they start to get crazy and they're like, we'll give you the number 7 pick and a second round pick and something else. It's just like
it would take a king's ransom for this.
How could you look at that and say no? But no one's going to do that.
That's where I'm at. I don't feel like I think it's the Deebo Samuel situation all over again.
It's got to
could have gotten traded, but
away.
No one came correct with an offer, and the 49ers said no.
Blow us away. I mean, like, give us a number 7 pick, give us a second round pick, and let us keep 31.
Yeah. give us a lot for an all-pro wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
In his prime. Yes, you have to pay him. We don't care.
I'm not pick swapping.
You don't have any need of trading him.
I'm not pick swapping with you with 7 and 31.
Exactly. No pick swaps. No later round pick swaps. You give us a haul, or else it's no. And that's the leverage that the 49ers have right now.
7 to 10 to 12 and the second round pick, and we keep 31, and you have to pay Brandon Ayuk. I don't know how you sit there and you can say no to that. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I agree. So, but I do expect
Brad Graham wants to trade Brandon Ayuk. Make sure you guys throw it out there.
Breaking news. Hey, I do though expect that we will get some more noise about this. I don't think we're over. I don't think the noise is over.
It's not over.
But we know. I think the Debo Samuel situation built us for this moment. So I think we're fine.
I think Debo, AJ Brown, every other single
Yeah, we
athlete
know it. The game plan has been revealed enough
yeah,
with how social media works now that
yeah.
like, okay, it's normal for guys to be outspoken on social media, and we've seen things be smooth though they're over and corrected, and that's obviously the hope from the 49er fan base perspective.
Yeah. And that's the thing is right now, the panic that's out there is just I would point to so many other situations. And when you point to the few times that it has changed, obviously the Chiefs and the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown with the Titans, which I still don't understand why the Titans let AJ Brown go for that little of a pick.
Just stupid moves,
It's
like
just yeah,
stupid moves. People GMs make stupid moves and then get fired.
it's just dumb. So but those are outside of the norm. And when you're under contract and you have a decision to make in terms of holdout, and also June 1st, a bunch of money, June 2nd, a bunch of money comes available
Yep.
because of Eric Armstead's move.
Yep.
It's starting to trend in the direction of how it usually trends with players who want to hold down and get signed closer to training camp. Bradley Graham, Nick
Yep.
Bosa, Debo Samuel. When you start to see that no one's going to blow you away with a trade for this guy, especially because so many people are enamored with the wide receivers in this draft, right?
Yeah.
Like there's an argument to be made that Malik Neighbors is the best route runner of all the wide receivers in this draft.
I mean, when it comes to pre-draft hype, Michael Harrison has lost it all. Like
Marvin. Yeah, Marvin.
Marvin,
Yeah.
excuse me.
No, but Marvin, all right. So this is why I'm not mad at Caleb for not testing because it doesn't matter. The Bears are taking you, right?
Yeah, right.
With Marvin, Malik Neighbors has done nothing but boost his stock with these pro days. But I think anybody that watches the tape knows that Malik has a better bag in terms of route running than Marvin Harrison. Now, if you're looking for that athletic freak, throw it up, go ball type of guy, and obviously Marvin Harrison's going to work on his game and refine that. I think if you're talking right now out of the draft, Malik Neighbors is the best route runner. But I think if you're talking highest ceiling, I think you're looking at Marvin Harrison because of how big he is and his target radius and what he can be and what he's going to develop into. But if you're talking about day one guys that can step in that are going to be dogs right away, like the New York Giants would be bonkers out of their mind to not take him at number 6 if you want to see what Daniel Jones is.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So gonna be interesting, but a lot more draft talk coming next week. 2 hours, Jason.
Hey, look at us. And we didn't have to talk about the 49ers quarterback or Brandon Ayuk.
I know. Look at us.
I thought we pivoted very well into draft content. Like I think we're moving right in the right direction. Yeah. I've watched so much draft content because now it's gone from, remember like the last few years, Brad? Hey, that guy's really good, but he's nowhere near where the 49ers are going to be able to be. Hey, but that guy's really good, and the 49ers are going to have a chance to draft him now. It's a little bit more exciting.
Bro, the days of just coming up with hypothetical trades of moving up just to feel involved, like we could get one of those like tiered players. Like when you get beyond, obviously there's different tiers. You get beyond 20, 15, 20, there's a teardrop. You get beyond 30, there's a teardrop. You get beyond 50, there's a teardrop, and then it just keeps dropping. And we just found ourselves in like the 7th quadrant for like the last 4 years, it feels like. But now it's like we have an opportunity to play with to get up there with the big dogs draft in the first round. So
no, we don't have to look at Sam Laporta and be like, we have no shot, man.
Laporta.
He's so good, dude.
Just like look, I was like thirsting over all these offensive linemen that the 49ers had no chance
No
at
shot.
getting.
Yeah.
And me looking at
the wide receivers, I'm like, man, he'd be really good for the 49ers. I'm just like, we have no shot of getting it. We pick it like the end of round 3.
Not even a chance. Not even the mock draft simulators where they're like, what are you doing, pal? Like,
yeah, exactly. They'll be like denied.
Oh man. Anyways, appreciate everyone for tapping in. I guess I gotta say, go vote for me in the
hell yeah. I voted.
The content creator.
I voted. Sorry, David. And you've been nothing but nice to me, and you do a lot of great work. But man, his team SF9 is over here. You had to know it was coming. But hey, he still got his people, and they out here voting because they fried me.
Oh yeah, he's got a great following. Like
Oh yeah,
I think people underrate it because they see this like the Twitter sphere. He's got a great YouTube community. So hey,
everything too. That man could put together 5,000 words on the Athletic. That I'm just like,
bro, go. He'll
man.
be like, I'll drop 5,000 words on the Athletic, while on KMBR, then simulcast onto YouTube,
And I might
and
just
then
pop up
be
on
like,
Pat
now
McAfee.
what? I'm on Pat McAfee.
Right? Like, I'm just like, how am I supposed to win when it comes to this? And all I
I'm like,
have
how am I
is
supposed to compete with this, man?
right.
Like,
All I have is a stupid
I just
YouTube
got a bunch
channel
of
and a Steph
49er
Curry
stuff
doll.
behind me. I'm in my
the best thing that I've accomplished this entire year is that Steph Curry doll right there, man.
Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, come on, man, give us a
I
break.
tried,
Give us
man.
a
I
break.
just was like, I'm not even gonna campaign. It doesn't even matter. But hey, shout out to the Spicy Squad and everybody else. Y'all kind of turned up a little bit. I'm really excited, man.
I was very impressed. And of course, I voted for you as well because I was like, oh, upset?
If I
Obviously,
put,
that would have meant we would have battled.
hey, I would have
But honestly, I
lost
would have
that
been
one.
like, dude, let's
I would have got
go.
smoked.
Like,
I would have got smoked in that one, but I would have had a nice little notch in my belt. But hey, look,
oh, hell yeah. But
last year,
this is also momentum for next year, too, I think.
right?
That's what
Yeah.
I've noticed about this bracket.
So last year, Elite Eight, I just happened to run into a juggernaut this year in the Sweet 16. You know, like, but the base is in. Like, you know, like you guys are legit when it comes to that, man. It's humbling, and I appreciate you. That's why I was like, when I started looking at the numbers, I was like, oh man, I really got to start doing more content because I've been like taking the week off, and that's why people have been like, yo, do
The
you even
wrong
still
time
do?
to take the
Yeah,
witness, man.
people are like, are you guys still doing content? And I'm like, Brad is, but me, like, you know, I had my daughter's birthday. I went away for a little bit. I'm taking some time off, but I've been watching film. So the draft content is gonna start rolling in, and I'm gonna get back. But yeah, like don't sleep on me yet. I'm coming back, man. I got you guys.
The bounce back is gonna be legendary. I guess go vote for me. Gold,
Gold standard Niners.
gold standard
Niners.com.
Niners.com.
Yes.
Or go to stats page on Twitter. I think he's been posting it. All that good stuff. Vote if you can. I would love to get to the final four. But Lombardi, hey, that's a tough one. It's a big guy to take down. So
He's huge.
We'll have to see if it can happen, but we'll see. Pause. Anyways, on that note, we are going to exit stage right, stage left, wherever. But again, shout out
Grab
to
your cookies.
Final parting words, Mr. Aponte, before we get to
grab your cookies tomorrow on Niners Nation. What Mike Tannenbaum said about his pick at 31 and what he thinks about the Brandon Ayuk situation. And look out on my channel for a little film breakdown of week 1. I'm gonna start doing breakdowns, like, you know, just to get back and just start to give some content. But like that Bobby Peters book has got me 100% in a headlock in terms of like what the 49ers run. So shout out to him, man. He does a lot of great work. But yeah, I intend to drop some videos on there doing, hey, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, like going over it again. And eventually we'll get to that game that nobody remembers in February that didn't happen.
You're going to do it?
Yeah, I have to. But at the Usher concert, there was a football game, apparently.
Hey, no Diddy. But honestly, like... but honestly,
we're off the rails.
You're off the rails. We're 2 hours. This is unprecedented work. But be careful. Be careful breaking down that Super Bowl game.
I don't care. I've already seen it 5-6 times.
I've watched it back, and I was like, I was going to do the film breakdown. I was like, I can't do it.
Hey, look,
I'm not going to subject our people to this.
I mean, if you guys don't want to watch it, I understand. But I've watched it 5-6 times because I'm at the place of like, you think you can hurt me with your words? I'm already dead inside. I'm dead inside. I'm completely dead inside. I have no emotions, like nothing. Like someone could walk in here right now and be like, say the worst thing to me, and I'll be like, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah,
the 49ers blew a 10-point lead.
There's nothing you can say that hurts me anymore.
The 49ers blew a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl while I was hosting a party in San Francisco for Bleacher Report. I was like, you think you can hurt me? Nah, you can't hurt me.
They've flown a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl twice. To the same team.
But who's counting? Not me.
We're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine, Jason. We're fine. Dude, I know we're trying to get off, but just it's crazy some of the comments that I continue to see. I'm just trying to post, like, I do 49ers content, so I'm trying to like steer away from just like post some random shit. Well, we don't care. We didn't win the Super Bowl. I'm just like, oh my God, I get it. We're all dead.
I know.
We're all dead. I'm trying to do something here.
We're trying to divert like from this discussion. You don't think that we wake up every single day like realizing that, you know, like
in a cold sweat?
In a cold sweat. It's like that Dwayne Wade Gatorade commercial. Like I thought I had emotional damage in 2012. But when I woke up and I realized the 49ers didn't run the ball one time out of the 4 that they had a chance, and we talked about that. And it's just like there's something about this one that makes it so gut-wrenching, because if it wasn't going to be this year, then when is whatever. Let's get out of here. I don't want to start. Yeah,
we're out of here. We're out of here. All right. Appreciate you guys. You already know what to do. Make sure you sub to both channels, like to both channels. It's draft season. You know the vibes. We're going to steer clear of the PTSD.
Yes.
We're out of here for now, though. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.